Eventually, I did get better, and I had to wait a year before I got into the school. When I got into school, I had no interest in studying, but I managed to pass middle of the pack, and I was able to go later on to a medical school. I entered the school. I graduated high school age 13 and a half. I graduated college 16 and a half, 3 years of college. I went to medical school age 16 and a half. I became a doctor age 22.
Right. So let's talk about that. So as far as, was that always kind of your future that you thought of being a doctor, or did you kind of grow up and was that like your parents said, hey, maybe you should look into medicine, or why did you want to become a doctor in general?
First of all, that was the only profession I knew. My parents were not a doctor. I spent so much time, in the hospital, so I knew how the doctors were helping to the patient and how they helped me. So that was the only relationship I had. I spent more time in the hospital seeing the doctors, what doing to the people and how they're helping. So I got interested. My grandparents, my grandfather was a physician, so I was exposed to some medicine. But being a patient for so long, being treated, spending in the hospital, that interested me to become a doctor. I was not a very good student of the surgery. I was a very good student of medicine. I wanted to be a medical doctor, and I also wanted to be a surgeon possible. But because everybody said to me that because of my hand, not having a good hand-eye coordination, I should not be a surgeon. I had a very rebellious temperament, and I said, nobody to tell me what I can be. Because everybody told me that I can't be surgeon, I want to be surgeon. And that's the day even though I was not a good student, I decided to become a surgeon.
So, go ahead. Sorry, Doc. Go ahead.
So that was it. But when I was a medical student in medicine, in a medical college, I was a first year, 17-year-old, and my dad, I had not had a good relationship with my dad because I was always in trouble as a kid, breaking down my elbows, and I had broken the other hand. I was not interested in studying. So my dad, when he saw my hand was paralyzed, he made a comment one day that he was very, very upset, and he said, our eldest son is going to be the beggar in the family because I didn't have a function. If you don't have a hand, you can't make a living. You can't do any job requires the use of your hand. Either you're a laborer or you're a physician or engineer, anything. So the idea, one day Dad got very upset to me in front of a doctor's office. He said, his hand is not getting better. You mean he's going to that I will make my living as a begging? And the idea to become a beggar was more painful than a paralyzed hand. I knew how the beggars were lived in India. Broken pans, dirty shirts, begging for a piece of coin or a piece of bread. I started crying. The idea that that will be my life, I started crying. At that point in time, my wife, my mother, my mom, who was such a strong lady, what most moms do, she grabbed me up, lift me up, and said, get up, look up, and don't give up. And she worked very hard. So this book is dedicated to my mom. Without her support, love, and dedication, and her determination, I would have been a beggar on the streets of India. But because of her work, I was able to recuperate and able to function. So when I was a medical student, one day I was heading back to home on the first year on summer vacation, and I suddenly heard the news. I ran into my uncle on train station. He says he's heading home. I said, did you hear about it? I said, no, your dad had a massive stroke. So I couldn't believe it. He was 51 years old. I head up to the hospital. I see him laying on a cot, wooden cot, Dogs are running around on the floor. The fan is barely moving around. The ward was filled with 30 patients. He was unconscious, tube in the throat. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe. I had a mixed feeling. That was the first time I felt his pain, with this,
Mhm.
with this. I was really, really upset, but at the mixed emotion, with the love, hate, uh, anger, uh, guilt feeling, despair, and frustration. I wept and I cried. My mom was there. We did not think my dad is going to survive. Here I was only 17-year-old. There was no such thing in India, retirement plan, Medicare, Medicaid, or welfare, any of those things. It wasn't existing in this country in the 50s,
Mhm.
and 60s. So what happened? Whatever we had the means was completely gone. We had nothing. I grew up very poor. We have nothing. At that point in time, I didn't know what to do. We will have probably one meal a day. My mom became a servant. My mom became the nurse. My mom became the teacher, caretaker. She had only 10th grade education. She can go out and get the job. She looked around one day and she said to me, Aaron, we need you. You are the guardian of the family. You have responsibility. I want you to take care of the brothers and sisters and go back to the medical school and work hard. Prior to that, I had no interest. I'm also very severely dyslexic. So I was working very, very hard to get this thing going. At that point in time, when my mom said, I didn't know what to do, but I knew what my mom had done to me. I could not, and I said, whatever she wants, I would do. I didn't want to go back to school. She said, no, you have to go back. So I stayed that summer. I pedaled my brothers and sisters to school on a broken bike on 100-degree temperature, one on the front, one on the back. I became a guardian there. Uh, I went back to medical school. I worked very hard, gave up everything, and I graduated second in class out of 125 students. So my grades got improved from the bottom of the class to the top of the class. So once I graduated, then I decided that I wanted to be orthopedic surgeon since that's the only thing I knew about it. Nobody, the orthopedics doctor had helped me to get my hand going. So family and the friends and the doctors, everybody said I shouldn't be a surgeon. I said that's what I'm going to be, an orthopedic surgeon. Uh, really, I never became orthopedic surgeon. I became a heart surgeon.
Right.
But anyway, I decided to come to America. The reason was that while you're getting trained, you get paid. So I could have better training and have some money to send the money back to home in India. When I came to this country in 60s, when I left my home, I had $8 in my pocket. $3, I took the cheapest flight coming from India to this country. It took it 30 hours to get here, 9 stop. I stopped layover in London for overnight. It cost me $3 in London. Take a bus round trip from Heathrow Airport to a hotel. Hotel was free at cost of the courtesy of the KLM Airlines. I stopped there, and while I was in the hotel, I did not eat anything because I did not want to spend the money. I drank water and I had a bag of the peanut, and that's what I ate. So 24 hours, I basically starved. I was not eating any meats or anything. I had no money to go to a restaurant or anything. I stayed there. Next morning, I took flight from London to the America. I had $5 in my pocket. That's the most valuable money I ever held, and that was Mr. Lincoln. Mr. Lincoln was in her pocket. I want to put my hand there every 5 minutes, make sure he doesn't escape. And he did not. He did not. When I arrived in this country in 60, it was a shock to me. I had never seen a picture of America, color picture. I heard about the Washington, heard about the New York and the Boston, but I've never heard about. I was coming to Worcester. A friend of mine told me before I was leaving, the streets in America is paved with the gold, and you'll be rich and healthy. I said, well, that'd be great, you know. So first thing when I got out of the airport, I was looking for the gold. Then I realized there wasn't any gold. The picture he showed me, the color, was the yellow strips on the road,
Street.
strips lines that do not park, or the median line. I realized and looked and smiled, how stupid. So when I arrived here, let me tell you, even I spoke English a little bit, I had not known a single person in this new world. I had no relatives, not a friend. I had $5, and I have to go to Worcester. And I was, let me tell you, if I think back, I was probably as much scared when the first pilgrims came in this country. They were as much scared as I was. So I could tell you, but, here I was. It was shock, different religion, different culture, different race. And the America was the 60s was a different world. We were going basically a cultural revolution. I think America had not seen anything after Civil War, what was going on in the 60s. The Vietnam War was very active. The Tet Offense was going on. There was a revolution between the anti-war protests all over. The drugs were furious. There was a lot of racial problem. And there was assassination of Martin Luther King, Kennedy's, and the Robert and John, President Kennedy. So the country was in real turmoil. But I faced everything, Robert. I faced everything. I faced disappointment, discouragement, discrimination. I was bullied. Everything I faced it. But I was determined. That I was focused. That I'm here to support learn, save money, support my family, and that's why I was there.
Right.
So I pretty much blocked all of these things, and I was determined to do what I wanted to do.
Right. So let me move into this, and let's talk about what were some of the differences living in India and then when you came to America, as far as living environments. Was there big differences for you?
Well, if you look at my book, there were some pictures. When I grew up in 60s, I grew up in very poverty. I drank a dirty water. I walked in a dirty water. There was no sewers. The streets where we were sharing with the animals, dogs, cats, donkeys, and everything, we were sharing it. I saw my friends as a kids who had a very young age. They died from infectious disease. I had every disease of mankind I could think about: chickenpox, smallpox, typhoid, malaria, filarial disease, parasite disease, diarrhea, chronic disease, So I had everything except the TV. So growing up there, so what I grew up was nothing what I saw here. Even the poverty here in this country looked like a palace to me, because I was never exposed. The first time I ever saw the box with this antennas spreading out the head, it was in the London TV. I never saw that TV before. I had heard about it. I saw once a picture of TV 20 feet away in a museum on a pedestal with the rope hanging around. So I never had those things. So when I came to this country, it was a shock, but it was also a surprise how people have the access to all of these amenities, which we never had it.
So what made you pick as being a heart surgeon instead of any other pediatrician, any other doctor?
As I said to you, Robert, I wanted to be an orthopedic surgeon.
Right.
But when I came to this country, and I really wanted to be, but I was 120 pounds, 5'8", I had 13.5-inch neck, and when you have to deal with the orthopedic, and in America, you guys are pretty big boys, 225 pounds. It doesn't work. A 125-pound kid cannot lift 225 pounds and manipulate the joints. I tried. I couldn't do it. So physically, I couldn't do it. My hand wasn't strong. If I had to do it now, I would have gone to gym, built it up, taken some steroid, some protein. Maybe I built it up and I done it. But here I was 125 pounds, barely eating meat, so I couldn't do it. So I wasn't sure what I'm going to do. And I had a tough time until I saw somebody performing a heart surgery at the New York and Columbia University, and I was very, very impressed with the kid. And that day I decided that I want to be a heart surgeon. But I didn't have the dexterity because my fingers were not good. Heart surgery needed a very fine movements, very fine eye-hand coordination. I didn't have any of these things. But what I did, I concentrated. I worked hard. I knew one thing: work hard and determination, focus, you'll succeed. So I went in my Spartan apartment. Every night after the duty, I would go and work 2 or 3 hours, take the needles and sutures. I would sew my pillow for 2 hours practicing. I can assure you, my pillows in the apartment were better embroidery and better, had the looks than many of the pillows in the posh hotel in London or Paris or New York. So I practiced, and gradually my finger and dexterity got better and better, and I got the opportunity to become a heart surgeon. And I had never had thought about I would become, except there was the one person in my life. I found out 3 years ago after retirement. I went home in India, and my brother gave me some of my memorabilia, and he said, since you're not living, you may want to be interested. And one of the things which I found, a photograph of me when I was leaving India in 1967. There was a photograph of me, and my mom took that photograph and advertised, put in news in the local newspaper, the Arun K saying he's leaving the countries and he'll be a heart surgeon someday. So my mom had a premonition that I will be a heart surgeon in America. But I had never thought of, never dreamed about that till I saw those pictures, what she put it in 1967.
Right. So you talk about all these things in the book that had happened through your life, and you just talk to the viewers about it. Growing up in poverty, people saying you can't do it because of your injuries, the dyslexia, the racism when you come to the U.S. you had to deal with, being bullied. How did you kind of go through all those issues? Those are big mental issues that kind of wear down on you.
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
Some of my friends had the similar problem, and they couldn't bear it down. They left, and they couldn't do it. But I was focused, and I look back, and I think about it, and I say it. The racism, discrimination, has always been there in human civilization. Name it when it's not there. So many era or period when the people, they love brotherly. You go back in the primitive ages. You go back to Persia. You go back in China. Go back in India. Go back into the later on the Romans, the Portuguese, the Spaniard. They all killed. Now, if you think about here, the whites hate each other. If you're a WASP, you don't like the Italian. If you're Italian, you don't like the Jewish. If you're Irish, name it. There are classes and classes. The blacks don't like it because you are African black, or you from Caribbean black, or you Native American. So it's the racism is everywhere there, and you fight in the religion and everything. So I knew there was a common sense. If I bog down on this negative force, I will never succeed. So I kind of blocked it. Did it hurt? Yes. Is somebody calling you bigot, discriminating you, you have a capacity to do it? It's discouraging. It's disappointment. Discrimination that hurts you. It hurt me. But you know what? I decided to move on. If I stay on this thing, it will bog me down. I will never able to accomplish. I was determined to prove to people that I am going to be a surgeon. I'm a good one, even everybody say I can be. And I was very, very fortunate. When I was in New York, I was first, back home in India, when you go in the hospitals or some sort of thing, you're dirty, filthy, supply not. Most people came there to die with infectious disease or malnutrition. When I came to this country, it was shocking. In the hospital, people are occurring in a gurney full of blood, chained down to to bed with a cop standing next to and a bullet holding there and a gun, holding there. It was devastating. It was devastating. And one day I was at the hospital taking care of the cancer patient, 45-year-old lady who had breast cancer, who ulcerated her breast. I didn't know what to do with it because I was not exposed to those kind of things. A young nurse came in, was beautiful. She was very compassionate, and she taught me what to do, what to say. And so I learned from a lot of people. And that nurse gradually became a very close friend, and later on she became my wife. And I tell you, she was with me, for me, by me on all my life, and she supported and helped me more than anybody else in my adult life. She pulled me out of my darkest day, and she believed in me, and we married for 49 years. And let me tell you, without her, or without help of my mom and the grace of God, I would not be here talking to you. I'll be sitting on the street of India begging with a pain, a broken hand, and a paralyzed hand.
Yeah. That's really incredible, your whole story, and that's why I
And
encourage. Go ahead.
I have to tell you, I perform more than 15,000 open heart. I touch about 20,000. I perform from premature baby of 24 weeks of gestation to 99-year-old. So I've seen every aspect. I want to tell you one thing. People ask you, you operate that many, do you have emotional? You just go cut. No, I do have a heart. I do have a heart. I do have blood running in my veins. One of the great baseball players said once, learn to control your emotion, otherwise emotion will control you. When we are operating on a heart, yes, I'm focused to the organ. That doesn't mean I'm indifferent to the patient of suffering. Every life matters, regardless of age, sex, race, religion. Everything matters, because I wish I could say that I saved each and every life I touched it, but the reality was not. But, but those who did not, their pain and suffering is entrenched, is deep. I feel their pain and suffering deep down in my heart. But, as I said, I had operated on many, many patients, but one of the kids I remember that named Sean, his life was shorter than most of my patients. Sean was born with a 3-chamber heart instead of 4-chamber heart. I operated was a newborn. I did him a palliative operation, a temporary operation to make things better. He had 3-chamber heart. So he will often come in the hospital to get admitted and treated, etc. He grew up when he was 3, 4. He became very close to me. He was beautiful, good looking, blonde, blue eye. He always followed me, run around, etc. As time went on, Son and 5 or 6 started failing. I know he needed to have a major operation. If he was living today, he would have had a heart transplant. But there was a different thing, different procedure. And we did not have the facility. I wanted the Son to have the best possible treatment. So I made an arrangement with the help of his mother to go to Alabama. Just before Son left, he gave me a book. Says the book was a coloring book he and his mother had made. Please make my heart better. And it was a beautiful book. We kissed each other, and Son went. A few days later, I got a phone call from a doctor in Alabama. We did everything. Son did not survive. I couldn't believe it initially. I clutched his book in my chest, started crying and crying. Then I realized the Son had a difficult problem. Doctors did everything, and nothing happened. Then I decided to open his book and start looking at it. And I saw what he and his parents has gone, and what the pain and suffering, what they felt, what what he and his parent had endured and illustrated in the book. And that really bothered me. That little boy had a more impact on my life, and it still does, than any other patient in my career. And so at that same time, obliquely I pondered the universe, the life. Prematurely he was taken out by the God, and really, really bothered me, and at the same token I said, who to say the next child born will not have this problem? Who to say my own next child will not have if I have a children? That really, really affected me. So what I did, we were planning to have another child, third child. I talked to my wife, and I said, I can't have it. She understood, and we did not. That was one time in my life that emotion controlled me, even that was not rational. So we did not have another child. I talk about in the book, what do you do? People who are 45 years old have no insurance. What do you do? Provide care or not? As a physician, it's our responsibility, a duty, to provide the health care. I'm not there to judge you why you're in this position. I'm not your judge to make a decision why you're pregnant, single mother, why you're in welfare, why you in this country illegal or legal. I'm not there. My job is to provide the care. That's the, and that's what and one of the greatest thing about being a healthcare is you able to serve the humanity, and you're able to make it changes in somebody's life, and you're able to help. At the same token, you make a living your own. It's not like you're not doing anything, you're suffering. So I'm very, very, very fortunate that I was able to have my career and able to enjoy it, able to do what I wanted to do it. And it has been a great journey. I look back, 41 years, 15,000 heart operation, 20,000 touching the heart, more than anybody on the East Coast. It's been a great journey. I look back, most of my patient has done well, the surgery, the career, on the balance of life. I've been fortunate, I can say that. I was fortunate I had two mothers. India gave me the birth, gave me the value, inducted me its value. America gave me the opportunity. I'm indebted to both. The lesson from this book is for not a medical person. This book is for everybody or anybody. This is a human story of immigrant. This is a story about the spirit. This is a story about the determination. If you have a determination, you have the grit, you have the focus, be prepared to have failure. You will overcome majority of the obstacles. You will overcome. You will overcome the most discouraging obstacle. I hear about Robert in the press and TV and young kids. The great American dream is over. Golden days of America is over. I say to them, I challenge them, look at me, and not only me, there are many more like me. America is still the beacon of the hill. There's no other country has the opportunity you can have. You just have to work hard, be patient, you will succeed. America is the beacon of the country and the world. And that's why people want to come to America. There's no other country it's like this.
I agree. And thank you very much for that. And that story really did touch me also, as I know it's touched you. But let's talk about, I have a few more questions that I really want to get into. And some of them are more in the healthcare side, and some of them are more about procedures that you've performed. Firstly, what are some of the stresses and how do you get mentally prepared to go into that surgery? You know somebody's life is on the line, and the stress that it gives you. How do you prepare for that?
Well, I'm used to it. I live on the edge to it. On the edge. Mm-hmm. You prepare. As I said, I'm focused. When I'm doing a surgery, We focus to the organ. We are not emotionally involved as you as a person. Sure, I'm involved as a person after your operation and before the operation. Always back in the mind. I'm doing an operation. You under my knife. Is his life is going to end today, or am I going to prolong his life? Every life matters, as I said. So it is a very stressful, but you are psychologically, emotionally, you become involved and focused. It's called meditation. You night before the operation or morning before, you sit down quietly, think about what you're going to do, how you're going to do, control yourself, and you focus and you do it. We don't go around dancing around and go in the operating room and doing things. You focus yourself, meditate yourself, you focus on what you want to do, and you're fortunate to have a team of people who help you the way you want to do it.
So let's talk about the how people can lessen their chance of getting heart disease. We see all these issues, especially in America, and you kind of talked about it with being orthopedic. People are big people. People eat all kinds of crap, and that's with the food industry. We see all the craziness. That's a high fructose corn syrup, all kinds of sugars, salts in food, which is really building up in the video games, the lack of exercise, and it's making people obese in our country and all over the world, in fact, in general. We can talk about exercising, but how do people really, look into being better, eating better and, looking at their heart in general?
First of all, you can't change your gene.
True.
There are certain heart disease you pass on to genetically from parents to grandparents to children to siblings and etc. That you can't help. That's nothing you can do. You can't change your parents. So let's have I don't want these parents, I want different parents. You can't do that. So what you can do, how you can prevent it. There are certain things you can do it. You can prolong your life. Say, you may be needing a heart operation if you do everything wrong, age 50, but if you do everything right, you may need an operation at 85. So you prolong your life without having a productive life to hamper. You have a heart operation at age 45. It hampers you economically, socially, emotionally, everywhere. So one thing, how do you do that? As I said, and you said something, first of all, certain thing you can do, control your blood pressure, control your diabetes. If you have a diabetes, stop smoking. Smoking is one of the worst things. And obviously, eat very healthy food. Healthy food, in a sense, the fast foods are not great. Mm-hmm. And exercise. You say, well, I don't have the money to go to the gym. You don't have to go to the gym. You have stairs. You can walk. You can have a field. You can walk. You don't have to go gym. As long as you can walk 2 miles rather than take a bike, go on a bike. You have stairs in your house, go 10 times up and down. It's just sitting. So sedentary life, frequent visit to a doctor's once a year to check your cholesterol. There are medicines. You have done everything. You watch your diet. You ate your food healthy, exercising, and it's still not good. Then you may need supplement with medication. Control your blood pressure with the pills. Control your diabetes with the pill or diet, exercise. Control your cholesterol. All of these things will help you to prolong. And let me tell you, yes, 30 years ago, heart disease was rampant. If you have a heart attack, coronary bypass was the most common operation. Slowly, we do less and less because of diet. And so this civilization is changing. People are watching. It's getting better. But still, we need to do more. And the education has to be done in the lower school. It's the culture you have to build in school, not when you're 30-year age, because a lot of damage is already done. So our goal should be that educate the kids in the school, in the home, so they can have a healthy environment, healthy diet, healthy upbringing.
I do agree with the majority of what you're saying, but I do think that there is an issue with socioeconomicness with, people that are poor, that they're working 2 or 3 jobs. They go to McDonald's because it's a quick fix. They can't make or afford to buy good food. They may be able to exercise and do what you say, but it's still all that bad food is kind of wears them out. So
Well,
I do,
I agree with you. Like
yeah,
you go in a Kentucky Fried Chicken and you
right,
get $10 and you get a basket of chicken. You can feed the whole family, 5 kids, and whole thing for dinner. You can't do a $10 anywhere else. So
right,
yeah, socioeconomic factor plays it, but the only way you can get socioeconomic factor out by education. You
sure,
know, so if you get educated, you have better job and be able to better power to earn and have a better healthy life. So there are a lot
right,
of other factors which you can help.
right,
Diet is not all alone. Socioeconomic and the gene and all these factor
sure,
plays. And get out of socioeconomic factor, you really need to have education. And education is a big problem. School systems are not great. Education is not available equally to all the kids, and there are issues which we can talk and talk. We have brilliant people in this country, 300 million population, that have not able to solve that. I don't think I can solve it. We can talk.
Me and you are 100%. I feel like on the same wavelength on pretty much everything. I agree with 100% what you just said, especially the last part. We're going to talk a little bit about heart issues right now with the last few questions. We see in the presidential race, Bernie Sanders had a heart attack. He had 2 stents put in. He's now doing 4 rallies a day, playing basketball with Jimmy Fallon. What do you think about that type of surgery for somebody that's almost near 80 years old to have 2 stints, but still kind of, trucking and moving along with doing that much, rallies a day in general?
Well, what it tells you, first of all, stents are a great thing. It's like 30 years ago, he would have had a bypass operation, and he would have been laid in the bed for 3 months. His campaign of playing a basketball will be over. The science and technology has really improved and has able to advance the treatment. So stent is a great thing. It's as equal as the surgery itself. So if the stents are put in the right place and his blood flow to the heart is good, he can be active and living as any other person. But the question is, does he have other blockages? Does he have other places hardening? Remember, he's 78 years old. Isn't it right? He's 78 or 76? How old is he?
77, yeah,
77. So,
but same
so,
thing, yeah.
yeah. So if he takes the presidency, he will be 78 years old. How good is 78-year guys who had a heart attack, who had a stent put in there? What else he has wrong? The presidency has a lot of stress, a lot of 24-hour job for 4 years, so he'd be 82, 83. He may be very active. I don't know. But there will be some concern because this is a very important. I would be a little bit concerned, a man, when you have 70, 80-year-old who is already past the prime, he already has some healthcare issue. We don't know all the details.
Right. So to go on to that, then we have our president right now who eats McDonald's every day, KFC, says that he has 11 Diet Cokes a day. So we go from one person that took a heart attack, got the stents. He seems like he's somewhat better. He's running around, but we have another president that's eating all kinds of crappy food and drinking 11 Diet Cokes a day. So what is your, and this is not about politics, this is just about health in general.
Yeah, well, I think both ones are wrong. I think what he's doing is not a good example, drinking 9 Cokes a day at a Coke soda machine there on call everywhere. But there's certain thing he has in his favor. Number one, his gene. He's probably has a very good gene. What he tells, I don't know. I'm not his doctor. That his cholesterols are normal, but he is taking some medication for lowering his cholesterol. So his cholesterols are not normal either. So, but regardless, he probably has a good gene. But 2 other good things, he's active. And the third other thing is he's not alcoholic and he doesn't smoke. So he doesn't drink and he doesn't smoke. So certain things he has a good thing going, a good gene. He's very active. You can see him running around. Probably runs around in the White House all night. He doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke,
Right.
but bad thing, his diets are not good. He's overweight. I'm pretty sure he's.
Right.
I'm not sure how much he weighs. Probably 280 pounds. Looking to him, especially he steps out of the plane, he looks like he walks gingerly. So he's
Right.
overweight, and his diets are not healthy. He's only 72. So we'll know in 4 years. It may catch up on him too.
Right.
We don't know yet.
So let me ask you, and this is not political, this is in general. Who would you trust more, the person with the good genes that's eating that bad food, or the person that had the heart attack but he had the stents put in, as just random people in general?
Well, it's unfortunate. The person who had a bypass operation or a stent put, I would say that he's documented, that he's a marked man. Marked man means we know that he has disease. The other guy is eating all bad things and doing things, but he's not a marked man. He may have all normal because it's protected with a gene or whatever he has. You can never know. So one guy's already know we got a problem here. It's fixed, but it's not fixed forever because what surgeons did is a localized problem fix it. It did not fix his. Does he have a hardening of the artery to his brain? Does he have a hardening of the artery to his belly? We don't know. We don't have information on all of those things. But the point is, but we do know that he had a problem in his heart, and he's a marked man. The other guy, he's overweight. He eats all bad things. Whatever reason, he may be 1 in 1,000, a healthy guy. His heart may be perfect. He may have other disease. We don't know.
Right. So let's talk about, you've worked in different healthcare systems all over the world. You worked in England, you've worked in the U.S., of course, and in India, where you went to medical school. What are the differences between all these healthcare systems that you've worked in?
Well, let me tell you, that's a very good question. I'm not a world's healthcare expert. The people in Washington are brilliant, and they haven't been able to resolve it, all the brains. But I tell you a certain thing, my Philip. I think as a human, everybody deserves health care. I hate to say that because when the person doesn't have the basic health care, they come to the emergency room later in the night. It's become more expensive. They stay longer in the hospital. They utilize more resources. So it's bad for everywhere. Bad for the hospital, bad for person, bad for everything. So now let's talk about what is the healthcare system. Yes, I did see. I work in England, and I can tell you that the people who have to be national healthcare have to be rationed. And I also worked on a degree in Canada, seeing the similar way. That means you stay on the line. In this country, people are not going to wait to tell you. They say you have a cancer or you have a heart disease. Your surgery will be done in 3 months. We can't do it now because the waiting list is long. That does not, American will not accept that. That's the way the national healthcare system. Now, American healthcare system is best in the world. Nobody questioned that. Nobody questioned that. The American healthcare is the best. The problem, 80% of the Americans, that is out of 300 million people, gets the best care they have access to, whether through the Medicare, Medicaid, or even the uninsured, or private insurer, or everything. The only about 10% of the people who do not have the best care. That is about 30 million people, right? That's what the people don't have. So how do we deal about it? Our healthcare is big enough. Our pharmacy, our hospitals, doctors, everybody is big enough to provide a 10% of free care. But our ego, our greed is not big enough to give that 10%. So we are surrounded by the greed. And think about it. If I give and you give your 10% of your free services, the hospital, everybody gets the best care. But everybody does not want to do that. In my practice, if I was going somewhere else, I would have made tons of money instead of Rhode Island, staying in Port. But I stayed there because I was determined. I had a hard time starting a practice. I wanted to prove to everybody I'm the best ever you're going to get it. And I proved that. And so what I did not leave the place. But during my practice, I never discriminated. A person who was coming from the street or coming from somewhere else and a single dime, a person you were governor or senator, they both have the same heart. Under the drape, they have the same pumping heart. No different. They look the same to me. So I do not, and I think if we have that, 10% to give, but our healthcare system is huge. It's the 18% of our GDP goes to the healthcare. Look at all these people making money. CEO, the pharmacy. What are the biggest three buildings in each city, if you look back? The bank,
Thanks.
hospital, and the colleges.
Yep.
How they're doing? They're all making money.
Yeah, big money.
Right?
Right. So do you look at the healthcare system, and you brought up a lot of good points. The cost is sky high for even people that have healthcare. They're paying high premiums, high deductibles. There's the life expectancy in this country has gone down, where in other countries where you talked about Canada has gone up. In other countries, even though with their problems, I mean, the high cost of medicine, as you said, is I have asthma. I have an inhaler. I go to the pharmacy. It costs $250 for one inhaler.
Well, I do. I do have asthma too. So I do take inhaler and I do take a steroid and things like that. I take a Beckinase inhaler or whatever it is that, all of those inhalers I use too. So it is expensive. Sometimes you go out there, get a cream, a tube of cream costs you $250. That's, it's unheard of it, So I'm saying it, we definitely need to control the price of these drugs. We definitely need to have transparency. I think I'm not a fan of I'm not a politician. I look at that who doing what. I have to say Donald Trump is trying to do some good things. Transparency on the hospitals, insurance company that you have to say, trying to control the drug pricing. The problem is the cost. The problem, our political system is really corrupt. They don't work for the countries divided. You say red, I say black. They are not looking as an interest what is good for the country. Forget about the party and all other things. What is it good for the country? And as long as we have personal interest, the lobbyists and the making money, we're not going to make it progress. And that's what big problem hurt of this. We can resolve all of these things, but lobbyists, the drug company, the hospital, look at the CEO of the hospital. They don't provide any care. They look at the book. They each have a $3 million, $4 million salaries, somewhere in the line. Tell me, look at the pharmacies. The CEO of the pharmacies are making $100 million bonuses and all other things. Big company. So it's a big utilization of resources. They take it away.
So let me ask you a question. I know we talked about with with the president's doing about cost and stuff like that. If universal healthcare isn't the way, what other ways could we control a lot of these factors? We see a lot of people, I've read in the paper, they can't afford big bills and they're committing suicide. We have opioids running wild. I know this isn't your specialty, but as a doctor, you see a lot of this stuff in action with costs and stuff like that. So what would be your take if not for universal healthcare? Do you see any kind of other solutions maybe that in your mind?
Well, I just said 80% are already covered. If we need to have only 10, 30, why do you want to break the system if you have a little one fuse is wrong in your house? You don't want to take the whole electrical wires out and say, well, let's change the whole thing. And then you find that nothing worked. So what I'm just saying is the system has worked, provided the best care. I think we need to come up with a common interest, common goal. Look, the prices are going up. We have to put a cap on it. We need to provide the people in some way who are uninsured a mechanism, either through the Medicaid or Medicare somewhere. But just to say, let's wipe it out, everybody got to have Medicare, or nobody's going to have anything. No, we don't want that. You don't want to go. We need to have, and again, I'm not a financial analyst, I'm not the policymaker, but I think we need to come to, and our system is big enough. We have plenty of money there. 18% of your GDP going down to healthcare. So it's only 10%. You will have to have somebody organized. But again, it's not big. Everybody, greeds are so big, they want more money in their pocket.
Yeah.
You see, it's a big bucket. Let's steal it as much as I can. Put it away. That's what the people are doing. So it's going on. It's a murder. People are, hospital are billing things. You have a little cup or tube. You drink it. Pills they give you, they charge you $5 for the little cup, the plastic cup you drink in there. They bill them. So it says everybody doing things. You tell me. You know what I mean?
No, I agree with you. 100%.
That's our problem. So I think one thing about the American people are smart, brilliant, and they will come. I think it's very interesting. The debates are going on, and they will able to come a common interest, and they will resolve this issue sometime in the near future. I'm pretty sure.
Right. So what is the main message? I know we talked a lot about the book, but what is the one main message you would try to get across to people reading this book?
The book is about, first of all, it's not a medical book. This is a human story, life of immigrant, a kid who had all the problems, such as, not born in a different race, different culture, dyslexia, paralyzed hand, no coming in the $5. How did he succeed? How did he make it? Not only me, how the others have made like him. And there's the only one message: have a faith, work hard, have determination, have a grit, and focus. See invisible, anything possible. And if you work hard and be prepared for disappointment, discouragement, discrimination, people are going to discriminate. They're going to laugh on you. But if you focus the positive side, you will overcome discouraging obstacles. You will succeed most of the time. And I don't want people hear the story, negative story. The American dream is not over. I don't want to hear that people say American dream is over. American dream is not over. America is still the beacon of the world. Everybody in the world, why people are trying to come in America? Because America is the place where the land of opportunity. And I said before, I was lucky that I am fortunate that I was a two-mother. India installed me the values. America gave me the opportunity. And I indebted to both of them.
Right. And last question: what advice would you give, students that want to go to medical school about, you talk about even your journey through medical school. It's tough. You really gotta be, put your head there, focus. A lot of book reading, a lot of, working with different people with different ideas. So what advice would you give students that want to go to medical school?
Well, I'm prejudiced. I'm biased. I would advise I think it's the best profession I have known. And I will say, unfortunately, my kids did not become doctors. But it's the best profession I have known personally. Name a profession where you can serve the humanity. You help the human being. You change somebody's life. You made them better. Somebody able to watch their daughter graduate. Somebody watch their grandkids to graduate. So able to see bar mitzvah. Able to see, wedding. Because if it wasn't of your care, he would have died. So name a profession what you can change somebody's life in the way you think about. There's none. Name a profession who's more respectable as a doctors. Name a profession who was a physician. Name a doctors who survive starving. They make it. So This is a great profession. This is where you make a decent living, you have respect in society, and yet you serve the most important thing, the humanity. There's none. There's no other profession.
No, I agree with you. And
then as far as the work, to be a doctor, yes, anything you want to do good, you have to work.
right.
Either you want to be carpenter, or you want to be racing car driver, a pilot. You want to excel, and in order to excel and do good, you have to be dedication. You have to have a desire, and that's what you want to do, and you have to work. Don't think that's because I'm going to go to medical school and they're going to give me a degree and I'll be a good doctor. It's not going to happen. You have to work.
You always got to be working on your trade, even
Yeah.
after medical school. No, I agree with you, and I know you know that firsthand. And
And
Doc,
I will tell you, this book is besides my journey. I talk about a lot of stories about how I dealt the patient who was an immigrant, how I dealt the kid who had a one-chamber heart, or kid who had a cardiac arrest during the operation, how emotionally, and how I got sued, the patient who lost the leg, how emotionally affected me for many years, even I did everything right, and I thought about it, his future, his emotion, his suffering, as well as my pain and suffering too. So we talk about a lot of these things in this book, in the human aspect of it. So this book is not for only medical profession. This for anybody. This is a human story, uplifting story, and this is the book called Your Heart, My Hand. Is available at online on Amazon. You can buy it, or Barnes and Noble, or local your independent book publishing stores. So this book is, I would definitely ask you to read it. This is a human story. The book has done very well. Has won a national award as a memoir, and so I would recommend you guys to read it.
Dr. Arun Singh, thanks so much for your time, and stay warm over there. I know it's getting cold. Is it snowing over there already?
Yeah, it has 6 inches of snow, Robert,
Oh gosh.
and the schools were closed. As cold as a classic New England. Enjoy the warm weather and have a wonderful and a happy holiday. And thank you very much for interviewing me.
All right, thanks, Doc, and stay inside. We'll talk to you
Take care.
soon.
Bye-bye.